Hey everybody, Matt McQueenie, Mix Minus Podcast. It is December 31st, 3:15 p.m., the final day of the year 2018. Tomorrow begins a new year, and it begins a new you and a new us, and we're going to change our lives around. That never happens. We always end up who we are. I always like the saying, everywhere you go, there you are. And that's not to be negative. It's just to be realistic. We kind of imagine we're going to reinvent ourselves all the time, and I think that gives us something to aspire to. But I don't know about you, I kind of like who I am most of the time. I was talking to my wife yesterday about relationships and other people's relationships, and she didn't necessarily like me saying this, but I said that at the end of the day, you need to be okay with you. You need to be okay with what you're doing. And you need to be okay in your own silence and in the confines of your own mind. And then when other people come into the mix, partners, friends, potentially suitors for marriage and girlfriends or boyfriends, they need to add to the mix. But you always need to fall back and be happy with who you are without anybody there. That to me is the key. And whether it was practice or whether it was by design, growing up, I always did that. I always could kind of fall back on doing things for myself, whether it was playing music, whether it was working out, whether it was reading. I could just read for hours on end. Books, magazines, newspapers. I could just read, or watching television shows, binge watching. I could do it myself. And maybe that's not the healthiest thing, but who's to tell you it is or it isn't? At the end of the day, I can fall back on things that give me joy by myself without the intervention of another human being. Now, that's a great thing to find another human being who can take that and accentuate it, and then you actually get pushed up to higher and higher levels of happiness through that. But, why were we talking about this? Because today is our eighth wedding anniversary. Melanie and I were married December 31st of 2010. It's always difficult to remember because being on the cusp of a new year and the end of another year, you just never quite know what year it is. I mean, 2010 is an easy one to kind of remember, but the beauty of it is, and I don't know if we look back on this and think that we were able to see the future and it would be helpful, but inside my wedding ring and her wedding ring, we actually have the date we were married. So it says 12/31/2010. So that can always be a remembrance. But 8 years, here we are. Usually Melanie and I will go out on New Year's Eve for our anniversary. We'll go and stay overnight somewhere, get a nice dinner. We love our son, but being away from your child for one night here or there gives you a new place to kind of reassess things and to have an opportunity to have a little bit of a different experience among just another adult. And it gives you the feeling of being a single couple again, where there are not responsibilities on you. Now, should something go wrong, are we back in play? Absolutely, and we're okay with that. But my mom has done a pretty good job over the years now that we've done this, since my son has been born, staying with him on New Year's Eve. Now, I talked about the fact that we went to New York City last month to do the Peloton class, so that was really great too. So my mom has done a nice double duty over the past 2 months. I really appreciate that, and she does a phenomenal job with it. We do have our Nest Cam where we can see what's going on once he gets towards bedtime, but she never bothers us. She never texts us. She never reaches out. She just basically says, go do you, and when you come home, you come home. There's a basic time we're going to tell her we're going to be home, but most of the time we're gone for about 22 to 24 hours, and I think it was about 22 hours on this one. When we went to New York, we were gone a clean 24 hours. So she's not bothered by it. She's great with it. She's not high maintenance as a sitter. And look, she had 4 kids, so she's been around this block. She's not as anxious or nervous as we might be as one-time parents. We will be 2-time parents pretty soon, though. A couple of months. We're looking at having our second child, as I've discussed in the past, so that will change. These New Year's Eve forays may change with that, because asking somebody to watch 2 children is a little bit more of an ask. I'm still sure my mom would do it. She might have to pull my dad in to do that, but we'll get to that down the road. But what we did this year, we didn't actually plan to go away on this New Year's Eve night because, to be honest, what I like to do for our anniversary, I always kind of plan it. She likes to be surprised, just like she wants to be surprised with the sex of the child. She likes surprises. It makes her feel better about a situation. So I always plan it. It's always a template. It ends up being a hotel that has a steakhouse in it or a steakhouse near it, a renowned steakhouse, and a nice massage either on the day we get there or the day we're leaving. And those three things end up being the key. And then we'll always watch a movie, usually before dinner. We set our dinner around 8:30, so you have some time in the hotel to just kind of chill and lay down for once without being beaten up by a 4-year-old, which I'm not going to say I don't like. It's fun, horseplay, all that. But that's kind of our mix, and we're happy with that. We're not going to go out drinking all night. I hope she's not, because she's, 7 months pregnant at this point. That would not be a great situational thing to be doing. But we just like our downtime. We usually go get a nice latte on our way to the hotel, and then we just spread loose and watch something. So this time I was looking around for New Year's Eve things to do. And first of all, the one issue with the massage I've found, I've never had a problem booking the massages, the couple massages. It does get a little tough on New Year's Eve because apparently a lot of people want to do that to literally force the new them on the next year. And it's just a popular day to kind of look back on the year, pamper yourself, do what you need to do. So I'm looking around, and I tend to like to go to like Massage Envies because you can get a gift card there, and then you end up paying a member price for a Massage Envy, which is like half price on what a massage is at a spa. That can be like $120, $130 for an hour massage. You go to a Massage Envy, you're looking at $59. So I'm not looking to spare money, or I'm not looking to not spend up for the person you love, but I am always looking for a deal. Massage Envy is fine. It's great. They're professionals. We never had issues. My wife and I were actually members at Massage Envy before we had our son when we lived in Edgewater, New Jersey. There was a Massage Envy right down the road. And your deal is you pay like $60 a month. You get one massage with that. If you want more than that, you get to pay it at that rate. But it ends up being great. We ended up rolling over. We would have our regular thing we'd do and go get that done on like a Saturday. And it was nice. So I have no problems with them. But as I was calling around trying to find a couple's massage, now that my wife is 7 months pregnant, and really anything over 16 weeks, you need to have a special massage. It's like a maternity prenatal massage or something like that. And you need to have a specialist who does that. And those are not around in as large a number as the regular masseuses. So I'm looking around. I couldn't get it done. I was like, oh my God. And then I found a place once all was said and done that did have the perinatal or prenatal massage. And it was fine. But one of the issues is once I got that in place, I then had to sign up for mine, and there was only a male available. I was not going to end this nice thing, this massage for my wife and my own massage, because there was only a male available. But I'm not going to tell you I didn't think about it, because I always get a female. I know it's weird, maybe it's sexist, whatever. And then I'm sitting there considering to myself, well, maybe a male's better because it can really get into the muscle better. And I'll tell you what, it was fine. It was totally fine. We got in the couple's room, and really I didn't even notice. And I'll tell you what, they didn't talk to me a lot. The women always talk to you. It's just what they do. And I don't have a problem with that, but it's nice to just kind of lock in and get out of it. He was a very slight guy, so he was like 5'6" or something. So it was almost like a woman was massaging you, I guess. But it was fine. It was good. So why did I choose to not have it tonight? We went on December 29th because I thought, look, New Year's Day to this year is on a Tuesday. New Year's Eve would be on a Monday night. And what you find on New Year's Eve is that the price is out of control to do anything. The price and the availability. So a hotel that is usually $100 to $125 a night is all of a sudden $400 or $500 a night on New Year's Eve for the same hotel experience. And that kind of value is out of control. It's out of whack. Is it really necessary to do that? So I started looking back, and all of a sudden you push it back to the Saturday, the 29th, and the prices are back in line, and they're fine. So I'm looking around. Everything's good. So I decided, let's do that. So got my mom locked in for that date, and I started looking around. And then I landed on the Madison Hotel in Morristown. It's only about 35 minutes away from our house. It's a beautiful hotel. We've gone to a wedding there. There's a great steakhouse in it called Rod's Steakhouse. It's been there forever, like over 100 years or something, or maybe less. But, we're talking something that has that kind of staying power. We actually had my mom's 60th birthday party there. We had a private room at Rod's. It's a great location, really great steakhouse, and that's a key for me. And it's right in this Madison hotel. So I was able to lock in this Madison hotel at a quarter of the price of New Year's Eve, and then I was able to get a reservation for 8:30 at Rod's, and there were like no reservations available for New Year's because people plan out New Year's 6 months in advance to a year in advance, and that's something I should be doing, but I didn't do it. So Saturday saved me. I was able to do that. Now the funny thing is, in previous years, they always had the college football playoff on the 31st on New Year's Eve. And so my wife and I would go away, and I would always have my eye on the bar, or I'd have my eye on the TV when we were getting ready to go to dinner to watch the 4 o'clock and about the 8:30 college football playoff games, the most important college football games of the year. And it was always on my anniversary. But you were able to watch it, and so many times it's a blowout in this round anyway. So it's a blowout by halftime. You don't have to pay attention as much, and then it's always a blowout by dinner time, and so I'm not paying attention. It's always Alabama blowing someone out or Clemson blowing someone out. So that's been fine. But there was a lot of criticism about using up New Year's Eve on college football playoffs. It's your most important games, and you're having the games on a night where everybody else has something to do anyway. So in a smart way, college football changed it, and so this year it was on the 29th. I guess it's on the Saturday, the first available Saturday before New Year's Eve. And so, of course, now I rolled into the 29th again, planning our anniversary, and landed on that college football playoff being now on the 29th. It did not end up being a huge deal this year because, again, both games were sort of blowouts. They were out of question at the halftime or even earlier. Clemson took care of business with Notre Dame, thought that would happen, but there was really not a reason to be watching that much. And then by the time I was sitting down to dinner, about 8:30, 8:40, I looked on my phone at the ESPN app, and Alabama was already up 28-0. And so you're sitting there going, okay, we're good. Oklahoma made it look a little more respectable, but it was never really in doubt. Oklahoma just does that. They can run up a score to get close, but they were never going to really threaten Alabama in that game. So everything ended up being fine there. But we did like normal. We left the house, got our coffee on the way. We were going to go to see a movie beforehand. It's funny. You want to go see a movie because I got a lot of my Oscar things I got to watch. And you really don't get a chance to just have an open schedule before you as parents. Everything is like, maybe I can steal an hour here. Maybe I could steal 2 hours here. Maybe we could steal a couple hours once Liam goes to sleep and we can kind of hang. Although then that's not really stealing hours because you go to bed at 11 and he's getting up sometime between 2:30 and 4:30 to come in and say, I got to go to the bathroom and then I want to go to bed. So you got to wake yourself up to take him to the bathroom and then to get him back to bed, and he goes right to sleep and you're up for another half hour trying to read a book to fall asleep. So you're never in the clear. But in this situation, you're in the clear because you got someone watching him. Someone is paying attention to him and being your de facto parent to him. And so when the schedule is wide open, you almost just don't know what to do. And you fall prey to the sort of the tyranny of expectations. When you could do anything, all of a sudden you don't do great things. And, good old Melanie will turn on me a little bit for not having a better plan. But we were looking to go see Vice, and I was seeing where it was available at the time. And East Hanover had it available right by the Novartis headquarters there on Route 10. So we stopped into a Target, got a couple of lattes because I got the little Starbucks in there. That was the closest there was. But this was a sea of humanity type of place. There were so many cars, so much traffic, so much everything, that when we got out of our Target with our coffees, and we went over to drive across Route 10 to the East Hanover, excuse me. Excuse me. It's been a while here. Got to work up the chops. 20 days since the last podcast. But we went over Route 10, went into this East Hanover theater, and then it had one of these things with the parking deck, and you couldn't find parking. And then I'm trying to reserve the seats for the theater online, and the only seats you could reserve were right in front of it. And I said, you know what, Melanie, this isn't worth it. Let's just go. So after we drove in to East Hanover to try to do that, we drove about the 15 minutes back down towards where the Madison Hotel is in Morristown. Now, as we're driving, Melanie goes to pick up her coffee and it spills in my car. Somehow the heat of the latte had seared the side of the coffee. And so she was like, we got to go back to that Target. I'm like, no, we're just going. I'll just buy you a new one. So along our way, we found a Starbucks in Florham Park. And to their credit, she brought it in and she said, my coffee split open here. They didn't even ask whether she bought it there. They didn't ask anything. They said, oh, what was it? Okay, we'll make it for you again. So it was a nice little thing. I guess it's in their best interest to make you the new drink. Who cares where you got it from? That's a bad look for Starbucks that these drinks are just splitting. But we got that, got along our way. It's funny, we always stop at CVS. It's like all of a sudden you have freedom for one night and you forget everything. So we're always stopping at CVS. We did that in the city too. And we're always getting a handful of things that probably won't be used anyway. But we got into the Madison, checked in, got into the hotel room, and it was a phenomenal hotel room. It was really, really long. It had enough for a huge bed and then a couch in front of the bed and then a nice TV. They were hooked up to DirecTV there, so that was good. But I had told Melanie, hey, we'll get a movie at the hotel because that's never a problem. I figured Bohemian Rhapsody would be there. I figured a handful of the movies that were maybe just in theaters would be in one of those in-room purchase things, the in-room pay-per-view. But it was all DirecTV, so there wasn't really pay-per-view. There were a couple of pay-per-view channels, and they had like Crazy Rich Asians and a couple, and nothing against that, but I wanted to get more into the Oscar season. Maybe Crazy Rich Asian will be in the Oscar, I don't know, but I wanted to see something more on the line with the higher level Oscar movies. Vice is supposed to be in the discussion, whether as an original picture or as an actor, best actor role for Christian Bale playing Dick Cheney in Vice. So we thought that would be a good one to see. I like who was involved in it. Adam McKay was in it, so it would kind of have that fun sort of, what was it, The Big Short feel to it, where they take a really serious subject and then make it a little fun to make it a little more entertaining. So I wanted to see that. Didn't work out, and then we're looking through the hotel, and of course I could put the game on in the background, so that had already started. And all of a sudden, Melanie's like, well, is this just going to be it? It's just going to be watching the game? We're just going to a hotel to watch a game? I was like, no. So I get on the hotel Wi-Fi. I start trying to look for movies to watch, to rent, even through like Amazon or iTunes or whatever. And then all of a sudden I go into Prime, Amazon Prime, and I'm like, oh, have you ever seen All the President's Men? You know, a movie from like 1974, right? I think it won a Best Picture, won a bunch of things. I mean, it's an all-time movie. I saw it for the first time last year, but it's on Prime now. It's free. I was like, oh, this would be a great one to watch in these times of Trump and in these times of really analogous feeling to what was maybe going on there. And she was like, no, I want to see an Oscars movie. And I'm like, all right. So then I'm looking, I'm like, oh, Michael Clayton's here. Everyone says that's a great movie. I know Bill Simmons did like a rewatchable about it. And that's a movie everyone says. That's like an Oscar type movie from only 12 years ago or 11 years ago. She's like, well, no, let's watch it. And so I got nothing. I got nothing current Oscars going on here. And then I remembered, oh, wait. Netflix has that original movie by Alfonso Cuarón, who did Gravity in 2013, so about 5 years ago, and that was a great Oscar movie. That was a great movie. Very, only a few actors and actress, you know, Sandra Bullock was in that, George Clooney, and it was sort of just them floating around space, thinking about life and existential crises of being in space and are we going to get home? And it was a great movie, just expansive, big space junk. And so I remember reading that his first movie after that is called Roma, and it sort of harkens back to him growing up in Mexico City in the early 70s, I believe. A lot of political turmoil going on, and I think his mom was maybe the help for a rich family doctor, and the mom was a biochemist or something. And so this show sort of, I guess, is his semi-autobiographical take on this this sort of life of his growing up. I don't know that he was one of the characters or whatever, but it was very much a personal story, and it was going to be on Netflix. It started on Netflix. Netflix puts it there. I guess it's playing in some theaters, but it's mostly there. And it's a black and white film. I don't think there were any actors or actresses I really knew from it. And so we decided, I said, hey, this is an Oscar movie. Let's watch this. We got it on Netflix. It was the only thing we got. And it was good. It was like 2 hours, 15 minutes or so. There's not a lot that sort of happens in it. It's just sort of a day-to-day black and white. It's very engrossing. Like you're brought into the movie and nothing really happens, but you're interested in how they're going to wake up the next day, what they're going to eat, where they're going to go on vacation. Is the dad going to come home, or is he going to go into his mistress? Is he going to do this, is that? It's also all in Spanish, so you got to read a lot of subtitles. And then there's a couple of parts of the movie that bring you front and center with action. And I don't really want to say what they were, but one of the scenes was, unfortunately, especially for a woman who's 7 months pregnant, was a very vivid reminder of how pregnancies can go wrong. I mean, the most vivid sort of exhibition of anything I've ever seen in this realm. So I don't want to say more on that, but I wish I had read a review that included that more, because we might have not watched it, or I would have told her to avert her eyes. But we got through it, and it was a good movie. It definitely, you can see why it's an Oscar-worthy type movie. Don't know it'll get mass appeal, but someone who covers the Oscars in my podcast form, it was something we had to watch. So why not watch it then when we didn't have a lot of other choices? And sorry, I had a little latte and a crumb cake before, and it's wreaking havoc on the old vocal cords here. So it was fine. And I'll tell you what, it's been quite a movie weekend for Netflix movies, because I heard everybody talking about this Bird Box movie. Bird Box. I saw it when I opened Netflix over the last week, and I saw Sandra Bullock was in it, which was really neat. John Malkovich was in it. There's a lot of different actors and actresses who Sarah Paulson was in it. She's tremendous. The guy who played the older main character from Moonlight, there's the young kid, and then there's the young version of him. There's sort of the teenage version of him, and then the older version. The guy who played the older version of the kid in Moonlight is in this movie, and he's really good. And so it's Bird Box. And at first I thought it was a TV show, so I just didn't open it and start watching it. And then I just sort of felt a surge of people talking about it on social media, Facebook, Twitter, people just talking about what a good movie it is. And then I saw the post that was going around that Netflix, who never talks about ratings, said that this movie in the first week was watched by 45 million Netflix accounts. And that, if it were in the box office, would have equated to $700 million, some crazy amount of money that would have been a tremendous blockbuster opening weekend. But since it was on Netflix, it doesn't translate that way. But Netflix, who never talks about ratings, all of a sudden is like, whoa, this is a huge number though. 45 million people. I bet you by the end of the day, over half of all the people who subscribe to Netflix will have watched this movie. And so I'm seeing all that, and I just decided on, you have all this off time now around the holidays, and you start to just have time to do some things. And so one of the nights I just said to Melanie, she was going to do some work for school. I said, do you mind if I just sit and watch this movie? It's never a movie she'd want to watch. And so this was the night before we had our outing, so it would have been Friday night. I sat down and started watching it at 8 o'clock. I was engrossed. It was a tremendous movie. And the reason I like it as a movie, as opposed to a TV shows on Netflix just have such an investment of time you got to give to them. And you start a show and you give an hour, and that's only one of 13 units of the show. You got to find 12 more hours after that first pilot. And, if you really like it, it's going to be hard to plow through those 12 hours in a couple of months. And if you don't love it and you're lukewarm, you're not going back, and you feel bad having started a show, put an hour into it, and then you don't follow through on it. With the movie, sort of, if it's lukewarm, if it's great, you start it, you're going to finish it pretty much that night. You're going to do everything you can to binge watch it to get it out of your queue that night. And so I started at 8 and I loved it. I mean, in a lot of ways, it has a lot of feel of Walking Dead, The Leftovers, Stranger Things, and Lost. So what sort of happens is you go between current day and 5 years ago. And 5 years ago was when some weird presence was happening in the world that was making people kill themselves. If they saw it, they automatically, their eyes turn funny and they take their own lives. And so you find out that you got to not look up at this thing, whatever it is. And so those who survive sort of go into homes and put newspapers all over the windows and sort of live indoors. And even if they have to go make a run for supplies, they have to cover up the car so nothing can be seen from out. And what they did in order to get to the supermarket that was a couple blocks away, they used the GPS system in the car in order to drive there without looking at anything. So they can't look out the windows. They can't look ahead. So they're driving over probably bodies. They're driving through other cars that had been stopped by the people who were driving it and I guess killed themselves. And so that's the only thing you can do. And so there's that current day, and then there's that 5 years ago, and then the current day, it's the Sandra Bullock character kind of wearing something over her eyes, and she has 2 children with her, and she's trying to boat down a rapids, sort of whitewater rafting, boat down a rapids without seeing. So it's really kind of scary. But this movie was engrossing. I mean, it was almost like if Walking Dead had the highest level A-list actors. It was really well done. And I know there were some people picking holes in it and it didn't do this or it did that or it was a copy of this. But I liked it. I really liked it and I would recommend it. Bird Box was really good. And the fact it was a movie, thank goodness that was something that happened. I think Netflix going in this direction with movies will be a good idea to kind of balance off the investment you have to give to watch TV shows. And that's one season of a TV show that'll be 13 episodes. Then all of a sudden the second season's coming and you're like, I don't think I could watch a second season of Iron Fist or Jessica Jones or Daredevil or a third season for Daredevil, right? I don't know if I can do that. That's just so much. Whether it's great or not, it's hard to sit down at night and know that I'm going to start something that I might not finish for 7 months. And it's all right there. I just don't have the time, especially as a married parent. It's just really tough. So 2 days in a row, 2 Netflix movies, good. Bird Box and Roma. The other thing I've been trying to do with Netflix too, so I'm paying for Netflix, right, on a monthly basis, and there might be a month where I don't watch a second of it. So what I've been doing as sort of a default for Netflix is that when I go to bed at night, I put one earbud in my right ear and then I put my iPad right on my nightstand. So I kind of sleep on my left side and I stare at this nightstand with the earbud in the right ear. So I'm not laying on that. And earbuds don't hurt that much actually when you lay on them. But what I do is I watch that and then I try to put on a comedy special. Like I've been watching a lot of the Joe Rogan recent comedy special, which is tremendous. And I would recommend watching that for the first 10 minutes where he talks about the Trump era. He talks about Trump in a way that nobody has. And that makes the most sense about how he could get into the position of power as the president. I also read New Yorker this week. Just came out today. They have a great article on Mark Burnett and Trump and sort of the way Mark Burnett, who was the producer and the creator of The Apprentice and sort of went to get Donald Trump as the avatar of this show, the way he built up Donald Trump at a time when Trump was so down, bankrupt, all this, he built him up into this and edited him into this kind of titan of industry where people could see as being very presidential. He was sort of edited into a titan of industry, a true decision maker, a deal maker. So that's a very good article. I would recommend that. But the Rogan thing, oh my God, just watch it. It's so good. It's so funny. I was watching it with Melanie at one point too, and she was laughing really hard, and she doesn't laugh at a lot of comedy like that. And it does go off the rails a little bit after, where it gets a little too obscene. And I like obscenity, but when it gets too far, it's like, that's why I like his podcast sometimes, because it doesn't go there, and it's just people talking and funny and conversational. But I'll go to bed and I'll like watch that and then put the sleep timer on the iPad for like 20, 30 minutes, and I'll just fall asleep watching that. The other one I've been falling asleep watching too is the Springsteen on Broadway, and that's been nice. There's something about that special, that Broadway special, that's hard for me to just sit down on a normal time of day and just watch it. But for some reason, when I'm trying to go to sleep and watching it, it's a lot more intriguing. I don't know why that is. But so that's what I've been doing. I always try to get more value out of Netflix. I never feel like I'm getting enough value. And it's funny because it's not like you look at your cable subscription or you look at your, if you're using an OTT service like YouTube TV as your subscription, you're never, or iTunes, or any of that, not iTunes, Apple Music. You're never worried about, am I getting the value out of those things? Am I getting the value? They're just in the background. But for some reason with Netflix, I want to make sure that I'm getting the value on it. And so that's what I try to do. I try to do that. And then all of a sudden you go through a period where you're like, boom, Bird Box on a Friday, boom, Roma on a Saturday, and you're using it, you're watching it, and you've made up the money. If you were to rent those movies, you've already made up the money of your Netflix subscription right there. Then you throw in those couple of nights falling asleep with it, and it works out. Why do I worry about these things? I don't know. But so my wife and I, we went to our dinner, tremendous as always. The one problem I don't like, or the one issue I hate with her being pregnant, is that you can't enjoy wine together. And that's a big thing. And I always feel bad ordering it. And then she can't drink it because she's judging me. Because first of all, you get 2 glasses of wine in you, you're a little looser, and all of a sudden you're judged by the sober person. And she's not trying to do that, but she could. And I just like where it takes her. I like when she gets a little looser and a lot. It's just a nice kind of a company activity, right? 2 people makes company. So I was almost going with the misery loves company, but it's sort of the opposite. Wine drinkers love company. I think that's what it is. So. And then, of course, when I do the whole financial thing where I'm like, well, you know what? When I'm adding up the single glasses of wine, I'm just going to buy a bottle for this much money because then I get the value. I won't drink it all. I promise I won't drink it all. I'll take it home. And so you now have a bottle at the table. And the sommelier who didn't see her walk in starts trying to pour it. And she'll just be like, oh, no, I'm pregnant. And so she has that moment where it's like, she could have had a glass of wine, but can't. Yeah, so we went through dinner. Tremendous, nice filet, 9 ounce. Cream spinach, huge baked potato, nice dessert after. The funny thing with this place is, and this affected our service really when we ate at Rod's, their dessert is like a production. And so it was tremendous, but they had this, so there's this bananas Foster for 2. And there's the after dinner coffee drinks, the Mexican coffee, the Irish coffee, and they basically take a little bit of coffee as a base and pour a lot of alcohol in it. It gives people the license to continue drinking and to really obliterate themselves and really get the alcohol down with the addition of caffeine, which takes it to another level. But what this place does, which is pretty crazy, they have a whole banquet table, like a tiny banquet table that they push through the place when people want to order this. And they go through this whole thing where fire's going into glasses, alcohol's lighting up, coffee's getting lit on fire. The bananas Foster's pan's getting fire. And you're just sitting there like you feel like you're at a mid-2000s Detroit Pistons game with all those things firing off during the introductions. And it gets crazy when you're in there. People are just going nuts. And our waitress had to go through 2 of these these routines with the fire and everything, and we're sitting there for 20 minutes waiting for someone to come check on us. I mean, it was crazy what was going on with that. So it was crazy, but it was good. And so we got through that. We got back to the room, finished up that Alabama game, and then look, it's not New Year's Eve, so we took the opportunity to go to bed early. And we went to bed early, like 11. Well, I guess that's not early, but like 11. And slept all the way till 7:15 with no one coming in to ask us to go to the bathroom, which was nice. So a nice straight sleep. And it was great. And then we got up in the morning and we had nothing but time because then we didn't have our massage till about 11. And so we had a lot of time to kill. We got up at around 7:30. You got till 11. So Melanie was going to go down, work out in the gym. I went down to check it out and started my coffee IV. Basically got some of the coffee down at the continental breakfast thing down there, trying to decide what I wanted to do. I didn't wake up feeling like I wanted to work out. I'd worked out the day before, but I was like, geez, you don't get this chance. So I got enough coffee in me where I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for a run outside. It's mid-30s. And the cool thing with this hotel is right behind it, there's actually a train station, Convent Station, which could take you right to New York in about 45, 50 minutes. But then behind it, there's this sort of running trail that goes along the old Morris County line or something, the old train line. And I had looked this up beforehand, so I knew that I had this in the back pocket if I wanted to run it. And so I saw it and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna run this thing. And so I decided in that moment, about 9:30, bam, went out there and started my run, turned my Apple Watch on. And for old time's sake, I listened to Joe Rogan, just talking with Lawrence Lessig, the kind of democracy is dead guy, the Harvard professor. Really good guy to follow. And a lot of the things he has to say about democracy have come to the fore. And of all people, he actually sees hope a little bit in where we're going from here. But I'm just listening to that, running along this way, nice brisk morning, got my hat, my gloves on, running by people. It just felt great to run outside. And this run takes you all along right down to the Morristown Green, where we would be going for our massage about an hour later. Nice 4-mile run or so. It was good, just catching up with Joe Rogan. As I was talking about the comedy special at night, right? Going to bed with that. When I'm running with this, it's just the Joe Rogan experience can just be a tremendous marathon training podcast, because it goes on forever. There's no breaks. There's nothing to stop you from your sort of drone thinking that you're going on. You know, you're droning, just kind of going along. And it was nice. It was nice to change things up. And so got back to the hotel and took quick showers and just got there in time to the masseuse. Had my male massage, which did what it did, but Melanie was happy because she had her maternal or peri, I'm going to get that wrong, whatever it is when you're pregnant massage. And it was good. Just another great kind of outing. We'll have many chances for this, hopefully, still for many years to come. But number 8 was good. I kept saying celebrate, but let's spell it with the number 8. So I'll catch up with you on a couple more things here, but that's where we stand now. So thanks so much, friends.